Welcome to The Stack. This is Flesh and Blood Edition. I'm Flake. This is brought to you, as always, by Realm Gaming Network out in Ohio. You want to go check out realmgamingnetwork.com. Follow up on their Fall Brawl, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty big deal. So go check that out. More about Realm Gaming at the end of the video. I'm joined by David Rude, who is the head honcho of TCGs over at the institution that is Hairy Tarantula. Dave, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Always happy to be here.
I love your Twitter feed. For those who are not aware, if you guys follow @DRudeHT on Twitter, there's a lot of great takes that some may or may not agree with. But if there's anything that you are, Dave, it's candid and authentic. And that's why you're on the stack this week. Are you aware of the rules?
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Yeah.
You'd think that. But for those who are unaware, I'm going to throw 9 statements at Dave. Dave can either say that the statement resolves, as in, hey, Flake, cool shoes, bro, like real sweet. Or they fizzle, as in, Godheem, no, I was lying. Actually, they're terrible. Are you ready to play the stack, Dave Rude?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Statement number 1. The meta is solved.
That fizzles. Easily fizzles. Yeah, I think we're in the early reactions to the meta, but it's certainly not, solved, and a lot of nationals are going to happen and change things week to week.
So that follows up to our next one, which is Dash is the deck to beat.
Also fizzles. I don't think Dash is the deck to beat. I think it's a good deck for people who are familiar with it, and it attacks the meta in a certain way. If I had to pick a deck, I don't really think there's a deck to beat. I think Ice is the thing to beat, so I would include Icelander and Oldhim both into that. So
we've talked a lot about formats and drafting and Blitz being a part of Worlds, but that aside, Dave Rude, I want to ask you more so about the fact that there should be more team-based callings. I played in a Blitz team. I know that a lot of people have done historic box opening team battles, which are great, and there's a mixed, like CC, Blitz, and Sealed is a nice 3-pack to do as well. What are your feelings when it comes to the fact that there should be more team-based callings? I
absolutely love team-based events in general. I think I was on your show months ago calling for, asking and begging LSS for team events. I would love to see a team limited calling, somewhere close to the release of the next draftable set, things like that. I'd love to see either a mix that, CC Blitz Commoner or CC Blitz Limited, something like that. I think there's a lot of ways that you can do that. There's a team event at Canadian Nationals this year that's sealed with HP1 boxes. I think sky's the limit, and as somebody who's done well in other card games and team events, it's so much fun winning with your friends, and even losing, as long as you have 2 buddies hanging out with you and stuff. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun doing the team calling with alongside Rick from BCW and Eric Longquist, aka Doa. It was just a lot of fun. Like, win or lose, we didn't care. We were just there to have a good time. So I would love to do more of those for sure. Here's one. This one's some pretty good hotness based off the fact that France just wrapped up. North America is overrated in the competitive scene.
It resolves. I think again, I was on your show months ago saying, Europe is coming. There's a lot of strong players that people didn't know about. North America has a lot of, the callings and events that had coverage early on. Like, there wasn't Europe tournaments that had, live coverage and things like that. A lot of the CFB articles are written by people who, are North America centric. So there's more events, there's more chances for people in North America to be recognized for doing well. And I think in general, it is just a natural thing. It's like, the media is going to cover it more. So it's going to tend to be overrated a little bit compared to what its actual results are going to be.
Poland is pound for pound one of the best countries when it comes to card games. It's obscene how many players that they had, not just at the Pro Tour, but actually placing in the top 8 and making day 2, placing in the top 8. It's an obscenely strong area. Jason Momoa as Rhinar is good casting.
Resolves. That's Sounds about right. You know, he's got the physique and sounds pretty imposing. I'm sure there's other choices out there, but I think that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
I like that one. The other one I was thinking was like Liev Schreiber, but I think that he might be getting a little too old. I think that Reinar and Jason Momoa, they already look the same, like shirtless, tattoos, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been a hot topic for quite some weeks. Since the Pro Tour, it's just exploded. Flesh and Blood Online is a good thing.
Results. Yeah, I think it's a very good thing. I think I'll give you an example is I'm someone that tries to find one of the best decks. I have access to a testing team that has, you know, some of the very good, if not some of the best players in the world. And I work in a card store. I have discount on singles, and I still play online to try to figure out what decks I should play before I buy it. Like, it's, you know, card games tend, if you want to be at the top and not just be a one-trick hero, which I have no issue with people who are, you know, who enjoy one hero and try to perfect it. But if you want to jump from best deck to best deck, you need to be able to practice, you know, the hero without building the deck in paper all the time. That doesn't take away the fact that, you know, like I've said, armories are in paper, Pro Tours are in paper, World is going to be in paper. This is what I believe is the vision, you know, of LSS. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but I think they want people to come together and, you know, play great games in the Flesh and Blood for big events and for local events. But I don't think they really have an issue with people practicing online and getting ready and things like that.
So we talked about the fact that, yeah, like maybe North America might be a little overrated when it comes to skill versus the rest of the world. But how about in terms of locations for events? Europe is the ideal place for major events. And I'm talking about the fact that the best players in the world seem to be there, and it's centrally located. I talked about this with some of the other casters. Tannen and Craig were like, no, North America's fine for us. Obviously, there's bias there. But to you, Dave, is Europe the ideal place for major events?
I'm going to say Fizzle. That one is pretty close, though. I think my guess would be West Coast of the US. It's probably, you know, relatively easier to, if you include Asia, you know, and everyone trying to reach the destination for the event. I think having an event in Europe is great, and I think they're going to rotate things like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a PT in Asia sometime next year. Rotating events is probably the best way to go, but if I had to pick a location that's the best centralized place for everybody, currently like the highest density of players, I would say West Coast USA.
Like it. This one's really going to hit home for us, but maybe not for everyone else. La Belle Province is the best place to get poutine. You could take that two ways. You can think that, hey, the province of Quebec is the best place to get poutine, which I think everyone would agree with. But uniquely, the hot dog restaurant known as La Belle Province is the best place to get a poutine. And keep in mind, it could be 2 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning. It is still quality.
I mean, I'm going to say Resolve as far as the province goes. As far as the restaurant goes, it's like very average. It's the place to go like after you've had drinks and you've been to the bar and stuff like that. It wouldn't be my first choice if I'm going at, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. But yeah, it's always good to have a place that's open late. Anytime I see a poutine that doesn't have actual cheese curd, I just want to return it and be like, no, this is like some cheese fries mixed weird thing, but you just can't call it poutine without cheese curds.
No, you can't. And this is what bothers me all the time, because you'll go to like these random restaurants and they're like trying to pass off poutines. There's like shredded like mozzarella on it or cheddar. It's like, what is this garbage? Like, this is not how it goes. But you and I have moved from Montreal to Ontario in the Toronto region. Have you found a place for poutine, or are you just kind of sort of settled and said, yeah, you know what, like it is what it is here?
My biggest issue with poutine in anywhere outside of Quebec that I've had is they tend to make it like way too liquid, like just almost like a soup in a lot of places. So a lot of times when I will order poutine, I'll just say like light gravy, like less gravy, or even like if you can give it to me on the side, I'll just make my own. I think the only place that I've had in Ontario that's reasonable is Smokes, which is like a Quebec chain, and I think that's like the only place that's remotely fine in Ontario.
Yeah, the one thing that bothers me, I find, is that people get a little too Emerald Lagasse with it. They get a little too Wolfgang Puck with their poutines, and they try to get really fancy and put all kinds of nonsense in it. Dude, it's fries, it's cheese curd, it's a nice thick brown gravy, and then you move on.
There you go.
All right, You are a retailer. You work obviously in the sales as well as being a pro player. Flesh and Blood needs a secret layer style collector drop.
Fizzle. I don't think they need to start doing direct to consumer like fancy version of expensive cards and things like that. I'm a huge fan of the HP1 Black Border version, like that has like some fancy. Like it's not something that I think was widely available in the US, but it was a thank you to Europe, and in Canada we get some of the French ones, and we immediately sold everything that we brought in. I think something like that once every couple of years is really interesting. Like maybe not in a foreign language, maybe have some sort of master set, like something that has Marvel cards of previous. They're starting to do Marvel equipment. There's no reason why they couldn't go back in a couple years and make a set that has Marvel equipments of the ones that we've been using that we all love and everything, stuff like that.
What Star Wars CCG used to do is, like, towards the end of their run, they released what were called Reflections sets, which were essentially packs, like they were fatter packs. The packs used to be 9 cards. These ones were like 15 card packs that were cards from all the previous sets, plus an additional promo in there, plus a foil version of cards that were never foiled. Like Star Wars CCG never did foils for their first like 4 or 5 sets, so they started foiling out their older cards and putting them in there. I think that if Flesh and Blood kind of comes out with something where it's like a phase 1 collector set where they either alternate art certain things, or they just literally foil out or give the cold foil treatment to certain cards that didn't, like have something for people to premium product. I think that would be pretty sweet as well. But I tend to lean with you on the fact that, like, spending $99 for 5 cards is like kind of a little over the top,
Yeah, I want to touch on one thing is, like, I'm a competitive player. I tend to avoid foils. I think a lot of people are in the same boat. I'd love to see more alternate art, non-foils, of the same way they did for like Team Covenant. They've done some cards that have been like very popular and things like that. I'd like to see them do a little bit of that in boxes too. It's pretty cool, I think.
I agree. Well, Dave Rude of Hairy Tarantula in Toronto, thank you so much for joining us. Your takes are always hot, and sometimes they are just yelled out into the ether for people to sort of absorb. However, that is the frequency that I like to be tuned into, and I'm glad that you're on the show. Friend, is there anything you want to shout out before we wrap it up?
No, not too much. Looking forward to Canadian Nationals. We'll see if I can put up a fight and see our favorite caster Flake battling it out with everybody else. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Very kind of you. Yeah, I will be out amidst the masses trying to collect L's and putting people into top 8. That's my mission. But if I top 8, I want like serious amounts of dab on me. A dab?
Sounds
dab?
good.
I don't know. I'm too old for that shit. All right, friends, thank you so much for listening to The Stack. Don't forget, you're not losing if you're learning. Keep playing the game. We'll catch you next week on The Stack. What a weird way to end that. The Stack is brought to you by Realm Gaming in Mansfield, Ohio, a wonderful place to get your flesh and blood fix, but not just that, they also specialize in Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. So if that's where you need to be to get your card fix, that's the place you want to go. RealmGamingNetwork.com. Keith and Jacob, who run the place, are developing a wonderful community of fun and inclusivity. So if you want to get a good fix on cards or just play the game, if you're in the Ohio region, you want to go to Realm Gaming. RealmGamingNetwork.com.